Her blind date mocked her for not being able to speak and walked out, leaving her humiliated in front of the whole restaurant. Then the man at the next table, the city's most dangerous mafia boss, lifted his hands and signed. "You deserve better." She thought he was just being kind. He knew she was his weakness. And he wasn't letting her go. Lily Chen knew she was being stared at before her date even sat down. The hostess at Marcello's, a cozy Italian restaurant tucked into Chicago's Gold Coast, kept glancing at her with that particular blend of pity and curiosity. Lily was used to it. 23 years of being mute had taught her to recognize every variation of the look. She smoothed down her cream-colored dress, the nicest thing she owned, and checked her phone. 7:02 p.m. Her blind date was late. Maybe he won't show, she thought, half hoping. Her coworker Sarah had set this up, swearing that her cousin Marcus was a great guy and totally open-minded. Lily had learned that open-minded usually meant, "I told him you can't talk, and he said okay, but he's probably going to bail." At 7:15, Marcus finally walked in. He was tall, clean-cut, wearing a polo shirt that screamed, "I have a finance job." His smile faltered the moment the hostess pointed toward Lily's table. She waved. He didn't wave back. "You're Lily?" he asked, standing awkwardly by the chair. His voice was too loud, like he thought being mute meant she was also deaf. She nodded and pulled out her phone, typing quickly. "Nice to meet you. Traffic okay?" Marcus glanced at the phone screen and sat down with a sigh that made her stomach sink. "Yeah, traffic was fine," he muttered, not meeting her eyes. He grabbed the menu like a shield. "So, Sarah mentioned you can't talk. Like, at all?" Lily's fingers moved across her phone. "I'm mute, but I can hear perfectly. I use my phone or sign language to communicate." "Huh." Marcus barely looked at the screen. "That's different." The waiter appeared, saving them from the silence. Marcus ordered wine for himself, just himself, and rattled off a pasta dish without asking if Lily was ready. She quickly pointed to the chicken piccata on the menu. "And for you, miss?" the waiter asked gently. She showed him her phone screen. "Chicken piccata, please." "Thank you." Of course, the waiter smiled warmly and disappeared. Marcus took a long gulp of water. "So, like, is this permanent? Can't they fix it with surgery or something?" Lily had heard variations of this question 100 times. She typed, "I was born without vocal cords. It's just how I am." "Right," he nodded, but his expression was distant. "Already checked out. Must be rough." She wanted to tell him it wasn't rough. Not most days. That she had a life, a job at a bookstore she loved, friends who knew how to sign. That she was more than her voice, or lack of one. But Marcus wasn't interested in hearing it. He spent the next 20 minutes talking about himself, his job, his gym routine, his fantasy football league. Lily smiled and nodded at the appropriate moments, her chicken growing cold on the plate. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and straightened up, suddenly energized. "Listen," he said, not quite looking at her. "This isn't working. I thought I could do this, but... I mean, how are we supposed to have a real conversation? You can't even talk. What's the point?" The words landed like slaps. Lily felt her chest tighten. She reached for her phone, but Marcus was already standing, tossing 2 20s onto the table. "That should cover my half. Good luck with everything." And just like that, he walked out. The restaurant seemed to shrink around her. Lily's hands trembled as she gripped her phone. She could feel eyes on her. Other diners pretending not to stare, the hostess whispering to a waiter. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor, to never have said yes to this stupid date. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. She quickly wiped it away and reached for her purse, ready to bolt. "Excuse me." The voice came from the table directly beside hers. Lily looked up. A man sat alone, mid-30s, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes the color of storm clouds. He was watching her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable, but somehow wasn't. And then he did something that stopped her heart. He lifted his hands and signed. You deserve better than that jerk. Lily's breath caught. Her hands moved automatically, responding in ASL before her brain could catch up. You know sign language? The man's lips curved into a small smile. My sister was deaf. She passed away 5 years ago, but I never stopped practicing. I'm so sorry, Lily signed, her earlier humiliation momentarily forgotten. Don't be, he replied, his movements fluid and natural. She would have liked you. And she definitely would have punched that guy. A surprised laugh escaped Lily, a soundless huff that made her shoulders shake. The man's smile widened. He stood, tall and imposing, and gestured to the empty chair across from her. May I? Lily hesitated. This was Chicago. Strangers didn't just sit down and sign to you. Especially not strangers who wore Rolex watches and had an aura that screamed danger. But something in his eyes, a genuine warmth beneath the intensity, made her nod. He sat down gracefully, and the energy in the restaurant shifted. The waiter appeared instantly, more attentive than he'd been all night. Another waiter nervously refilled water glasses at nearby tables. I'm Adrian, he signed. Adrian Russo. The name hit her like ice water. Everyone in Chicago knew the Russo name. Adrian Russo wasn't just wealthy. He was infamous. The whispers said he ran half the city's underground operations, that prosecutors had tried and failed to touch him for years, that crossing him meant disappearing. And he was sitting at her table, signing to her like they were old friends. You look terrified, he signed, amused. I promise I don't bite. Not on first meetings, anyway. Lily's hands trembled slightly as she signed. I know who you are. Good, Adrian replied. Then you know I never waste time on things that don't matter. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto hers. And you, Lily Chin, matter. Her name in his hands felt like a secret. How do you know my name? The waiter said it earlier. I have excellent hearing, his smile turned warmer. And now I'd like to know everything else. 2 hours disappeared like minutes. Adrian had insisted on ordering dessert, tiramisu that Lily barely tasted because she was too busy laughing at his story about accidentally signing an insult to a diplomat's wife at a charity gala. His hands moved with practiced ease, painting pictures in the air that only she could understand. It felt like magic, like they existed in a bubble where the rest of the restaurant couldn't reach them. Your trouble, Lily signed, shaking her head with a smile. The best kind, Adrian replied, his eyes glinting. And you're changing the subject. You still haven't told me what you do. I work at a bookstore. Nothing exciting. Books are everything, he signed firmly. My sister used to read 3 a week. She said books gave her voices when the world was too quiet. Lily's heart squeezed. What was her name? Isabella, his hands slowed, more careful.
Bella. She was.
Everything good that I'm not.
I doubt that, Lily signed.
Adrian's laugh was quiet. You don't know me yet. Yet. She felt her cheeks warm. Yet, he confirmed, his gaze holding hers with an intensity that made her pulse race. When the check came, Adrian paid before Lily could even reach for her purse. She started to protest, but he simply signed. Let me. Please. The please melted her resistance. Outside, Chicago's October wind bit through her thin jacket. Lily shivered, and before she could process what was happening, Adrian had shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. It smelled like expensive cologne and something else, leather and cedar. I can't take this, she signed. You'll freeze. I run hot, Adrian replied with a slight smirk. Where do you live? I'll walk you. You don't have to. I want to. Something in the way he signed it, definitive, no room for argument, made her nod. They walked side by side down Michigan Avenue, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Adrian's hands moved as he talked, and Lily found herself drawn into his stories. He told her about his nephew's obsession with dinosaurs, about the time he tried to cook pasta and nearly burned down his kitchen, about a stray cat that had adopted his building. They were normal stories. Human stories. Not the stories you'd expect from a man who supposedly controlled half of Chicago's underworld. You're not what I expected, Lily sighed honestly. What did you expect? Scars? A cigar? Maybe a Tommy gun? She laughed silently, her shoulders shaking. Maybe the cigar. I quit smoking years ago. Bad for the lungs. He paused at a crosswalk, then sighed. And you're not what I expected either. What do you mean? You're stronger than you realize. Most people would have left that restaurant in tears. You stayed. You finished your meal. You didn't let him take your dignity. Lily's throat tightened. I cried a little. One tear, Adrian sighed. I counted. Then you wiped it away and held your head up. That's not weakness. That's steel. No one had ever called her strong before.
Brave, maybe.
Inspiring, in that condescending way people used when they felt sorry for you. But never strong. She didn't know how to respond, so she just walked, her heart beating too fast. They turned onto a quieter street, and that's when Lily noticed them. Two men in dark coats, walking about 20 feet behind them. They'd been there since they left the restaurant. She'd thought it was paranoia at first, but now she was certain. Her hands moved quickly. Are those men following us? Adrian barely glanced back.
Yes.
They work for me.
Why?
Because I don't take walks alone, he said it casually, like having bodyguards was as normal as carrying an umbrella. They're harmless. Well, not harmless. But they won't bother you. Lily looked back again. The two men kept their distance, but she could see their faces now. Hard, alert, watching Adrian like hawks. One of them, built like a linebacker with a shaved head, caught her eye and quickly looked away. They seem nervous, she sighed. Adrian's expression shifted, something between amusement and resignation. They're not used to this. Used to what? Me walking someone home. Me sitting at dinner for 2 hours.
Me.
This, he gestured between them. I don't usually let people close. Why not? He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. The streetlight above cast shadows across his face, making him look even more dangerous. And yet his hands, when he signed, were gentle. Because everyone I've ever cared about either leaves or gets hurt. It's easier to keep walls up. Easier. Lily signed slowly. Not better. No, Adrian agreed, his eyes searching hers. Not better. A car passed, breaking the moment. They started walking again, but something had shifted. The air between them felt charged, heavy with possibility. Behind them, the two bodyguards exchanged glances. The linebacker, whose name was Marco, leaned toward his partner, a wiry man named Tommy. Boss is smiling, Marco muttered. When's the last time you saw that? Tommy shook his head slowly. 3 years? Maybe 4? Not since Miss Isabella.
This is bad, Marco said.
Or good.
No.
Bad. You know what happens when the boss cares about someone? They become a target. Tommy's hand instinctively moved to the gun concealed under his jacket. Then we make sure nobody gets close enough to try. Up ahead, Adrian and Lily continued their silent conversation, hands moving in the lamplight, creating a language that belonged only to them. When they finally reached Lily's apartment building, a modest walk-up in Logan Square, Adrian looked up at the chipped paint and flickering porch light with an unreadable expression.
This is me, Lily signed.
She reluctantly shrugged off his jacket and handed it back. Adrian took it but didn't put it on. Instead, he signed, Can I see you again? Her heart hammered. Why would you want to? Because for 2 hours, I forgot what I am. You made me remember what I could be. Lily's breath caught. You barely know me. Then let me learn. Adrian signed. His hands moved with an urgency that matched the look in his eyes. Say yes, Lily. She should say no. Every logical part of her brain screamed to walk away from Adrian Russo and his dangerous world. But her hands moved before her mind could stop them. Yes. His smile could have lit the entire block. Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up at 7-inch. That's not a question, she signed, fighting her own smile. No, Adrian agreed. It's not. He waited until she was safely inside before walking away, his bodyguards falling into step behind him. And Lily, standing in her tiny apartment, still feeling the warmth of his jacket on her shoulders, wondered what she'd just agreed to. Lily barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Adrian's hands moving in the lamplight, signing words meant only for her. She dragged herself to work the next morning, exhausted but unable to stop smiling. Her coworker Jamie noticed immediately. "Okay, spill," Jamie said, leaning against the bookstore counter. "You look like you just won the lottery." Lily pulled out her phone and typed, "The blind date was terrible, but something good happened after." "Good how?" Jamie's eyes widened. "Did you meet someone?" Lily nodded, feeling her cheeks heat up. "Oh my God, who? Tell me everything." But before Lily could type a response, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Good morning."
Still thinking about last night.
Odd. Her heart did a little flip. She saved the number immediately. Jamie tried to peek at the screen, but Lily angled it away, suddenly protective of this new, fragile thing between her and Adrian. The morning passed in a pleasant blur of shelving books and daydreaming. But at noon, when Lily checked her phone during her break, she found 7 missed calls from home. Her stomach dropped. Home wasn't really home. It was the 2-bedroom apartment she shared with her stepmother, Patricia. Her father had died 3 years ago, leaving Lily with a woman who'd married him for money that never existed and stayed out of laziness. Lily called back. Patricia answered on the first ring. "Where have you been?" Patricia's voice was sharp, accusatory. "I've been calling all morning." Lily typed into her phone's text-to-speech app. "I'm at work." "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?" Patricia's voice rose. "I had visitors this morning, Lily. Big guys in suits asking about you. Asking where you were last night. Asking about Adrian Russo." Lily's blood ran cold. What did they want? They wanted to know if you're involved with him. If you're together. Patricia's tone shifted, calculating. "Are you sleeping with Adrian Russo?"
No.
"I just met him yesterday." "Don't lie to me. These men, they showed me pictures. You and him, walking together last night. You wearing his jacket. It looked pretty cozy." "Pictures?" Someone had been photographing them. "Who were these men?" Lily typed frantically. "They didn't say." But Lily, Patricia's voice dropped to something almost sweet, which was worse than her anger. "Do you have any idea what this could mean for us? Adrian Russo is one of the richest men in Chicago. If you're smart about this." Lily hung up. Her hands shook as she stared at her phone. Someone had been watching them, taking pictures. And now people were showing up at her apartment asking questions. She wanted to text Adrian, to warn him, but warn him about what? That his world was already bleeding into hers. The rest of her shift was torture. Every time the bookstore door opened, Lily jumped. By the time 6 o'clock rolled around, her nerves were shot. She took the bus home, watching over her shoulder the entire way. The apartment was on the 3rd floor of a rundown building that smelled like old carpet and regret. She climbed the stairs slowly, dreading whatever awaited her. Patricia was in the living room, dressed up for once, makeup carefully applied. She smiled when Lily walked in, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "There you are," Patricia gestured to the couch. "Sit. We need to talk." Lily stayed standing, her arms crossed.
Fine.
"Stand." Patricia's smile thinned. "I've been thinking about your situation with Mr. Russo. This could be very good for both of us." Lily pulled out her phone. "There is no situation. I barely know him." "That's not what those men said. They said Russo hasn't been seen with a woman in years. That he's notoriously private. And yet there he was, walking you home like some lovesick puppy." Patricia stood, moving closer. "Do you understand what kind of opportunity this is?" "Opportunity for what?" "For us, Lily. We could finally get out of this dump. You could help your family." "You're not my family," Lily typed, her fingers hitting the keys hard. Patricia's face hardened. "Your father left me with nothing but debt. Gambling debt. The kind of debt that doesn't just disappear, She pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket and tossed it onto the coffee table. $50,000. Due in 2 weeks. If I don't pay, these people will take everything, including this apartment. Lily stared at the paper. An invoice from something called Northside Collections. I didn't know Dad gambled, she typed. He didn't. I do, Patricia said it without shame. And I got in over my head. But if you're smart about this thing with Russo, if you make him care about you, he could. I'm not using him for money. You're not using him. You're just being strategic. Men like that, they take care of the women they're involved with. All I'm asking is that you don't mess this up. Lily felt sick. She grabbed her phone and typed, I'm going to my room. Those men said they'd be back. Patricia called after her. They want to meet you. Said they had a business proposal. I think you should hear them out. Lily slammed her bedroom door, which did nothing since it had no lock. She sat on her bed, head in her hands, trying to process everything. Someone was watching her. Patricia wanted to use her relationship with Adrian for money. Strange men were asking questions. And the worst part? She had no idea how to tell Adrian any of this without sounding crazy or paranoid, or like she was already too much trouble. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Adrian. 7 o'clock still work? I can't stop thinking about seeing you again. Lily's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She should cancel. She should put distance between herself and whatever mess was forming around her. But instead, she typed, 7 works. Can't wait. Through the thin walls, she heard Patricia on the phone with someone, her voice low and conspiratorial. Yes, she met him. No, she doesn't know anything yet. Tomorrow, I'll make sure she's here. The girl's naive. This will be easy. Lily's stomach twisted. Patricia wasn't just in debt. She was actively plotting something. Something involving Lily and Adrian. She pulled her knees to her chest, suddenly feeling very small and very scared. Outside her window, across the street in a black sedan, 2 men sat watching her apartment. One of them made a phone call. Boss wants to know if the Chin girl is secured.
Not yet.
But the stepmother's cooperating. She'll deliver the girl when we need her. And Russo. He doesn't know yet. But he will. And when he finds out we're using his new toy as leverage, the man smiled coldly. Let's just say the Caruso family is about to remind Adrian Russo why you don't expand into North Chicago without permission. The other man nodded, settling in for a long night of surveillance. Inside the apartment, Lily checked the time. 1 hour until Adrian arrived. 1 hour to figure out if she should tell him everything or pretend nothing was wrong. She chose neither. She simply got dressed, put on her bravest face, and waited for 7 o'clock to arrive, unaware that her stepmother had just sold her out to the most dangerous rivals Adrian Russo had ever faced. At exactly 7 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Lily opened it to find Adrian standing in the hallway, looking unfairly handsome in a charcoal suit. But what caught her attention was the bouquet in his hands. White roses, at least 2 dozen of them. He signed with one hand while holding the flowers with the other. These reminded me of you. Beautiful and resilient. Lily's breath caught. She took the flowers, burying her face in them to hide the tears threatening to form. No one had ever given her flowers before. When she looked up, Adrian's expression had softened. You okay? She nodded, not trusting herself to sign anything coherent. Behind her, Patricia appeared in the doorway, her eyes widening when she saw Adrian. Mr. Russo. What an honor. I'm Patricia, Lily's stepmother. Adrian's gaze shifted to Patricia, and the warmth disappeared instantly. His expression went cold, professional. Ma'am, he didn't offer his hand. Patricia's smile faltered. She looked between them, clearly wanting to insert herself into the conversation, but Adrian had already turned back to Lily. Ready, he signed. Lily nodded quickly, grabbing her purse. She didn't look back at Patricia as Adrian guided her out with a gentle hand on her lower back. A sleek black car waited at the curb, not a limo, but something elegant and understated. Marco, the bodyguard from last night, stood by the passenger door. He nodded respectfully as Adrian opened the door for Lily himself. They drove through Chicago's evening traffic, and Adrian kept signing to her, asking about her day, telling her about his. It felt normal and extraordinary all at once. The restaurant he took her to was nothing like Marcello's. Venetian was exclusive, the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu and required reservations months in advance. The maitre d' greeted Adrian by name and led them to a private corner table, partially hidden by elegant curtains. "Is this too much?" Adrian signed once they were seated. "I can take you somewhere else if you're uncomfortable." Lily shook her head. "It's perfect. But how did you get a reservation so fast?" "I own the place," he signed with a slight smirk. "Has its advantages." She laughed silently, and something in Adrian's expression shifted, like he was memorizing the moment. The waiter appeared and Adrian signed to Lily. "Order anything you want. And I mean anything. They'll make whatever you like, even if it's not on the menu." "What are you having?" she asked. "Whatever you're having," he replied. "I want to experience what you experience." It was such a simple statement, but it hit Lily hard. Marcus had treated her like a burden. Adrian treated her like she was someone worth following. They ordered seafood risotto and grilled branzino to share. As they waited, Adrian told her about his week, about a business deal that fell through, about his sister's favorite restaurant that used to be where a parking lot now stood. "You talk about her a lot," Lily sighed gently. "Is that bad?"
No.
"It means she mattered. Still matters." Adrian's hands stilled for a moment. "She was the only person who saw me as more than the family business. More than my last name," he paused. "Until you." Lily's heart hammered. "You barely know me." "I know enough," Adrian sighed. "I know you work at a bookstore and could probably recommend the perfect book for any mood. I know you laugh with your whole body. I know you're kind even when people don't deserve it. I know you make me want to be someone my sister would have been proud of." The food arrived, saving Lily from having to respond to words that felt too big, too soon, too real. They ate slowly, talking between bites. Adrian asked about her favorite books, her dreams, what she'd do if money wasn't an issue. He listened to every answer like it was the most important thing he'd ever heard. "You're really good at this," Lily sighed. "At what?" "Making me feel seen. Not like something broken that needs fixing.
Just
seen." Adrian reached across the table and gently took her hand. "You're not broken. The world is just too loud to notice what matters." Across the restaurant, partially hidden behind a column, a man in a dark jacket raised his phone and snapped several photos. The camera captured Adrian holding Lily's hand, the intimate way they leaned toward each other, the soft smile on Adrian's usually stern face. The man sent the photos immediately. Within minutes, they were being viewed in a dimly lit office in North Chicago. Well, Victor Caruso said, studying the images on his tablet. "The Ice King has a weakness." His lieutenant, Frank, leaned over his shoulder. "You want us to grab her?"
not yet.
"Let him get attached. Let him think she's safe." Victor smiled coldly. "The deeper he falls, the harder he'll break when we take her. And when Adrian Russo is broken, we take everything he has." Back at Venetian, Adrian and Lily finished their meal, unaware of the danger circling them. As they left the restaurant, Adrian's hand found the small of her back again, protective and possessive in a way that made Lily feel both safe and thrilled. Marco and Tommy flanked them as they walked to the car, their eyes scanning the street with practiced vigilance. But they were looking for immediate threats, men with guns, suspicious cars. They didn't notice the photographer melting into the shadows, or the black sedan that pulled away from the curb and disappeared into traffic. Adrian drove Lily home himself this time, his bodyguards following in a separate car. He walked her to her door, and in the dim hallway light he signed, "I had a perfect night." "Me too," Lily signed back. "Can I see you again?" "Soon." "You just saw me last night." "Not soon enough," Adrian replied. Lily smiled. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," he agreed. He hesitated, then leaned forward and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. "Sleep well, Lily Chin." She watched him walk away, his bodyguards materializing from the shadows to follow him. Only when his car disappeared around the corner did she go inside. Patricia was waiting, arms crossed. Well, did he give you anything?
Money?
A credit card? Lily walked past her to her room without responding. You're being stupid, Patricia called after her. You could milk this for everything, but you're playing it like some romance novel. Wake up, Lily. Men like that don't fall in love with girls like you. Lily closed her door and leaned against it, Patricia's words echoing in her mind. Girls like you. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Adrian's hand signing. You make me want to be someone my sister would have been proud of. She fell asleep thinking maybe, just maybe, Patricia was wrong. In a warehouse across town, Victor Caruso pinned Lily's photo to a board. Around it were other photos, Adrian's properties, his associates, his routines. Russo's weakness has a name, Victor said to his assembled crew. And now we know exactly how to destroy him. The rumors started small, like poison dropped into water. Lily first heard them at the bookstore 3 days later. 2 women browsed the romance section, speaking in voices just loud enough to carry. Did you see the photos online? Adrian Russo, with some girl.
I saw.
Poor thing probably has no idea what she's getting into. Please. Girls like that know exactly what they're doing. He'll keep her around for a month, maybe 2. Then she'll disappear, like all the others. There were others. There's always others with men like him. They collect pretty things and throw them away when they get bored. Lily's hands shook as she shelved books, trying to pretend she couldn't hear. Jamie found her in the stockroom 20 minutes later, sitting on a box with her phone clutched in her hands. Hey, you okay? Jamie asked gently. Lily typed, people are talking about me and Adrian, saying he's just using me. Lily, people talk, especially about someone like Adrian Russo. It doesn't mean. What if they're right? Lily typed, what if I'm just entertainment until he gets bored? Jamie sat beside her. Is that what it feels like when you're with him? Lily thought about Adrian's hands signing to her, the way he listened like her words were precious, the forehead kiss that had felt like a promise.
No, she typed.
It feels real. Then trust that. Trust him. And definitely don't trust random strangers gossiping in a bookstore. But the damage was done. The seed of doubt had been planted. By the end of the week, the rumors had spread everywhere. Someone had leaked the photos from the restaurant to a gossip blog. The headline read, Chicago's most dangerous bachelor. Who is mystery woman? The comments were vicious. She's obviously a gold digger. He'll dump her in a month. What does he even see in her? Lily tried not to read them, but they burned themselves into her brain anyway. Adrian seemed oblivious. He texted her every morning, took her to dinner every night, made her laugh with stories signed in their private language. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was watching them, judging them, waiting for the inevitable end. Meanwhile, across town in Adrian's office, his consigliere wasn't oblivious at all. Vincent Santoro had served the Russo family for 30 years. He'd watched Adrian grow from an angry teenager into a controlled, calculating leader. And he'd never seen him like this, distracted, soft, vulnerable. We need to talk, Vincent said, closing Adrian's office door. Adrian didn't look up from the contract he was reviewing.
So talk.
The girl. Lily. Now Adrian looked up, his expression cooling. What about her? The entire city is talking about you too. Our rivals are paying attention. The Carusos have been asking questions. Let them ask. Adrian, Vincent leaned forward. She's making you look weak. You're leaving events early to see her. You're distracted in meetings. Yesterday you smiled during a negotiation. You never smile during negotiations. Maybe I should smile more often. Not when it makes you vulnerable. Vincent's voice rose. These men, they're circling like sharks. They see a weakness, and they'll exploit it. They'll use her to get to you. Adrian stood, his chair scraping against the floor. Then I'll protect her. You can't protect her and run this organization. You have to choose. I don't have to choose anything. Adrian's voice went dangerously quiet. Lily stays. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly. Vincent exhaled slowly. She's just a girl, Adrian. There will be others. She's not just anything. Adrian's hands moved unconsciously, signing even though Vincent didn't understand. She makes me feel alive, Vince. For the first time since Bella died, I feel like I'm living instead of just existing. And what happens when the Carusas or the Gallos or any of our enemies figure that out? What happens when they take her because you care too much? Then I'll burn their world down. Vincent stared at his boss, recognizing the stubborn set of his jaw. You're in love with her. It wasn't a question. Adrian didn't answer, but his silence was confirmation enough. God help us all, Vincent muttered. What neither of them knew was that Lily had arrived 5 minutes earlier, flowers in hand, a surprise visit to bring Adrian lunch. Marco had let her up, assuming the boss would want to see her. She'd been standing outside the office door, waiting for a break in the conversation to knock. And she'd heard everything. She makes me feel alive. For the first time since Bella died. The words should have made her happy. Instead, they cracked something open inside her chest. She wasn't Lily to him. She was a replacement. A substitute for the sister he'd lost. Someone to fill the void Bella left behind. That's why he'd approached her in the restaurant. That's why he'd been so kind, so patient. She reminded him of Isabella. She wasn't special. She was just convenient. Lily backed away from the door, the flowers clutched too tight in her hands. She made it to the elevator before the tears came, silent and bitter. Marco caught up to her in the lobby. Miss Chen, where are you going? The boss is upstairs. She shook her head and kept walking out onto the street, into the afternoon crowd. By the time Adrian came downstairs 10 minutes later, she was gone. Where's Lily? He asked Marco.
She left.
About 5 minutes ago. She seemed upset. Adrian's stomach dropped. Did she go into my office?
No, sir.
She was waiting outside. Outside, where she could have heard him and Vincent talking. Adrian pulled out his phone and called her. It went straight to voicemail. He called again, and again. Each time, voicemail. He texted, Lily, please call me. Whatever you heard, let me explain. No response. I need to see you. Nothing. Please. The words sat on his screen, unanswered. Vincent appeared at his elbow. What happened? She heard us. She heard me talking about Bella. Adrian's voice was hollow. She thinks that she's a replacement. Adrian closed his eyes. I need to fix this. Give her space. She'll come around. You don't understand. Adrian looked at his consigliera. I just found her. I can't lose her too. But Lily wasn't answering her phone. And in her apartment, she sat on her bed, crying silently while Patricia's earlier words echoed in her head. Men like that don't fall in love with girls like you. Patricia was right. Adrian didn't love her. He loved the ghost of his sister. And Lily was just a convenient substitute who happened to sign. 3 blocks away, in the black sedan that had been following Lily for days, Victor Caruso's men watched her building and smiled. She's alone, one reported into his phone. And from the looks of it, they just had a fight. Victor's voice crackled through the speaker. Perfect. Scared and isolated. That's exactly how we want her. Get ready to move. For 3 days, Lily ignored Adrian's calls and texts. She went to work, came home, and avoided looking at her phone. Each notification from him felt like a knife twisting deeper. On the 4th day, he stopped trying. That hurt worse than anything. On the 5th night, she was walking home from her shift at the bookstore when she felt it, that prickling sensation of being watched. She glanced over her shoulder and saw a black sedan crawling along the curb behind her. Her heart hammered. She walked faster. The car matched her pace. Lily's hands shook as she pulled out her phone to call. Who? The police? And tell them what? That a car was driving on a public street. She turned down a side street, hoping to lose them. The car followed. Panic clawed at her throat. She broke into a run, her bag bouncing against her hip. Then, from nowhere, another car screeched to a halt in front of her, a sleek black SUV. The door flew open and Marco jumped out. "Miss Chun, get in."
Now.
Lily didn't hesitate. She dove into the back seat, and Marco slammed the door behind her. That's when she saw Adrian. He sat in the corner of the back seat, his expression a careful mask. But his eyes burned with something fierce and protective. "You're okay?" he signed immediately. She nodded, still trying to catch her breath. The SUV pulled away smoothly. Through the back window, Lily watched the black sedan try to follow, but two more vehicles materialized from nowhere, boxing it in. "Who were they?" Lily asked. "No one you need to worry about anymore," Adrian signed. His jaw was tight. "I've had men watching you since you stopped answering my calls. I knew something was wrong. You've been watching me? Protecting you."
There's a difference, he paused.
"We need to talk. Really talk. Will you let me walk you home?" Lily should have said no. Should have told him to leave her alone. But she was tired of running from the truth. "Okay," she signed. They drove in silence to her neighborhood. Marco stopped a block away from her building, giving them space to walk. The two bodyguards followed at a distance, giving them privacy, but staying alert. For a long moment, neither of them signed anything. The October wind scattered leaves around their feet. Finally, Adrian's hands moved.
"I'm sorry."
"For what?" "For making you feel like a replacement. For making you think you were anything less than extraordinary." He stopped walking, turning to face her fully. "You heard me talking about Bella. About how you make me feel alive." Lily nodded, not trusting herself to sign. "And you thought I meant you were her substitute." Adrian's expression was pained. "Lily, you couldn't be more wrong." "Then what did you mean?" Adrian took a breath, his hands moving slowly, carefully. "When Bella died, I locked everything away. Every emotion, every feeling, every part of me that could hurt. I became what everyone needed me to be. Cold, calculating, untouchable." He paused. "And then you walked into that restaurant and reminded me what it felt like to be human. Not because you're like Bella. Because you're you." Lily's eyes burned with unshed tears. "You're nothing like my sister," Adrian continued. She was fierce and loud and filled every room with noise. "You're quiet and gentle and make silence feel like music. But you both have the same thing, a strength that comes from being underestimated. A kindness that survives in a cruel world." His hands trembled slightly. "You don't replace her, Lily. You make me remember why she would have wanted me to keep living." A tear slipped down Lily's cheek. "I was so scared." "Of what?" "That I wasn't enough. That you'd wake up one day and realize I'm just a mute girl who works in a bookstore. Nothing special." Adrian's expression shifted to something almost angry. Don't ever call yourself just anything." He stepped closer. "Do you know what I see when I look at you? I see someone who faces rejection with grace. Someone who finds joy in small moments. Someone who made me feel seen for the first time in years. You communicate more with your hands than most people do, with 1,000 words." "The whole city thinks I'm using you for money," Lily signed, her movements jerky with emotion. "The whole city can think whatever they want. I know the truth." "And what's the truth?" Adrian's hands stilled. Then, slowly, deliberately, he signed, "That I'm falling in love with you. And it terrifies me." The words hung in the air between them, huge and fragile all at once. "Why does it terrify you?" Lily signed. "Because everyone I love ends up hurt. My sister died because she was my weakness. My mother left because loving my father was too dangerous." His expression was raw, vulnerable. "I'm terrified that caring about you will put you in danger. That my world will destroy you." Lily's heart ached. She reached out and took both his hands in hers, stilling them. Then she let go and signed. "Maybe I'm stronger than you think." Adrian stared at her, something breaking open in his expression. "Maybe I don't need protecting," she continued. "Maybe I need someone who sees me as an equal. Someone who trusts me to make my own choices. Even if that choice is choosing me." especially if that choice is choosing you. For a long moment, Adrian didn't sign anything. He just looked at her like he was memorizing every detail of her face. Then, instead of signing a response, he did something that spoke louder than any words. He took her hand. Not to lead her, not to protect her, but to hold, to promise. His fingers laced through hers, and Lily felt the weight of that gesture settle in her chest, warm and certain and real. They walked the rest of the way to her building in silence, hands clasped, speaking a language that needed no signs. At her door, Adrian finally released her hand, only to sign, "I want to do this right.
Take you on real dates.
Meet your friends.
Let you meet mine.
Show the world you're not my secret. You're my choice." "That sounds perfect," Lily signed. "Tomorrow, dinner at my place. No restaurants, no cameras. Just us." "Us," she repeated, and the word felt like a beginning. Adrian waited until she was safely inside before walking away. This time, when Lily watched him go, there was no doubt in her heart. In the black sedan still blocked 3 streets over, Victor's men cursed as they watched Adrian's security detail escort him away. "He's on to us," one muttered. "Doesn't matter," the other replied. "The stepmother gave us a key to the building. Tomorrow night, while Russo's got the girl at his place, we'll plant the bugs and the cameras. Every moment they spend together, we'll be watching. And when the time is right..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. The trap was being set. And neither Adrian nor Lily had any idea how close the danger had already come. The next afternoon, Lily left work early to prepare for dinner at Adrian's place. She was nervous and excited, her mind spinning with possibilities. She was halfway down the block from her apartment when they appeared. 3 men stepped out from an alley, blocking her path. They wore cheap suits and cheaper smiles. The one in the middle, thick-necked with a scar running down his cheek, was the one who spoke. "Lily Chen. We've been looking for you." Lily's stomach dropped. She tried to step around them, but they moved with her, boxing her in. "Not so fast, sweetheart. We need to have a conversation." Scarface pulled out a folded paper. "Your stepmother owes our employer $50,000. Since she can't pay, that debt falls to you." Lily fumbled for her phone, but the man to her left snatched it from her hand.
"Nah, no phones."
"No calling for help." He examined the screen, then laughed. "What were you going to do anyway? Call someone?" "Oh wait, you can't talk." The third man, younger with slicked back hair, snickered. "What's the matter? Cack out your tongue?" "Oh wait, you never had one to begin with." Lily's face burned. She tried to push past them, but Scarface grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "Where you going? We're not done." "50 grand, little girl. Your stepmom said you've got a rich boyfriend now." Adrian Russo, he leaned closer, his breath reeking of cigarettes. "Maybe you can convince him to help out. Use whatever assets you've got." Lily yanked her arm, but his grip tightened. "What's wrong?" "Can't scream for help." The young one laughed. "Can't even beg us to stop." "Man, this is too easy." Tears of frustration burned Lily's eyes. She opened her mouth, trying to make any sound, anything, but nothing came. It never did. "Leave the money at this address by Friday," Scarface said, shoving a card into her jacket pocket. "Or, we'll come collect another way. And trust me, sweetheart, you won't like." "Let her go." The voice was quiet, but it cut through the street like a blade. All 4 of them turned. Adrian stood 10 feet away, his hands in his pockets, his expression perfectly calm. Behind him, Marco and Tommy materialized from the shadows. The change in the debt collectors was instant. Scarface released Lily's arm so fast she stumbled. The young one went pale. The third man took an actual step backward. "Mr. Russo," Scarface stammered. "We didn't know, we were just..." "You are touching something that belongs to me." Adrian's voice remained soft, but there was an edge to it that made Lily's skin prickle. "Do you have any idea what happens to people who touch what's mine?" "It's just business, Mr. Russo. The woman's stepmom owes..." I don't care what she owes. Adrian walked forward slowly, and all three men shrank back. You made her cry. You mocked her. You put your hands on her. He stopped directly in front of Scarface. Give me one reason I shouldn't have Marco break every finger you used to touch her. Please, Mr. Russo, we didn't mean.
Leave. Now.
And pray I never see your faces again. They scattered like rats, nearly tripping over each other in their haste to escape. The young one dropped Lily's phone in his rush. The moment they were gone, Adrian turned to Lily, his expression transforming from cold fury to gentle concern. Are you hurt? Lily shook her head, but her hands were trembling too hard to sign properly. Adrian pulled her into his arms, and she let herself break, tears soaking into his shirt. He held her until the shaking stopped, then pulled back enough to sign. Who were they? Lily explained about Patricia's gambling debt, about the $50,000, about everything. Adrian's expression darkened with each word. Where does their boss operate? No, Lily signed. Don't. It's not your problem. It became my problem the second they touched you. He turned to Marco. Find out who runs Northside Collections. I want an address in an hour. Adrian, please. Lily started signing, but he was already walking to his car.
Come on, he signed.
You're coming with me. 2 hours later, Adrian walked into a grimy office in a strip mall on the north side. Marco and Tommy flanked him, and behind them, Lily followed reluctantly. A balding man in his 50s sat behind a desk cluttered with papers. He looked up, saw Adrian, and his face went white. Mr. Russo. What an unexpected. Adrian slammed a metal briefcase onto the desk, making the man jump. He opened it, revealing stacks of $100 bills. 50,000. For Patricia Chen's debt. The man blinked.
That's
very generous, Mr. Russo, but I'm not done. Adrian leaned forward, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. Lily Chen's name will never leave your lips again. You will never send anyone to her home. You will never approach her on the street. If I hear even a rumor that your organization has spoken her name, I will burn your operation to the ground. Do you understand? The man swallowed hard. Yes, Mr. Russo. Absolutely. The debt is cleared. We'll never. Good. Adrian straightened, closing the briefcase. One more thing. If Patricia Chen comes to you with more debts, you refuse her. She is no longer your client. Make sure all your competitors know the same. Of course. Whatever you say. Adrian turned and walked out, Lily hurrying after him. She waited until they were in the car before her hands flew into angry signs. What was that? That was me protecting you. I didn't ask you to. Her signs were sharp, furious. You can't just throw money at my problems and expect me to be grateful. Adrian's jaw tightened. They were threatening you, and I was handling it. Handling it? They had you cornered. They were mocking you. His own signs grew more intense. What was I supposed to do? Walk away?
Yes.
Or ask me what I wanted first? Lily's eyes blazed. You paid my stepmother's debt without even asking me. You made me feel like a possession. Like something you own. That's not. Adrian stopped, his hands falling. I don't think of you like that. Then stop acting like it. Lily's hands shook. I'm not some damsel who needs saving. I'm not something you bought with that briefcase of money. I'm a person, Adrian, with my own choices. My own agency. I know that.
Do you?
Because it feels like you made a decision about my life without me. She turned away, staring out the window. Take me home. Lily.
Home. Please.
The drive was silent and tense. When they pulled up to her building, Lily got out without looking back. Adrian caught her arm gently, and she turned. His expression was pained, lost. I'm sorry, he signed. You're right. I should have asked. When I saw them touching you, I couldn't think straight. All I could see was you hurt and scared, and I needed to fix it. I don't need you to fix me, Lily signed, softer now but still firm. I need you to trust me, to see me as your equal, not your responsibility. I do see you as my equal. Then prove it, she signed. Stop making decisions for me. Stop treating me like I'm fragile. I survived 23 years without you. I can survive my stepmother's debts too. Adrian nodded slowly. What do you need from me? Space, Lily signed. I need to think. She could see the words hurt him, but he nodded. Okay, I'll give you space. But Lily… He waited until she met his eyes. I'm not giving up on us.
She didn't respond.
She just turned and walked inside, leaving Adrian standing by his car, watching her go. Marco cleared his throat. Boss. I screwed up, Adrian said quietly. Yeah, Marco agreed. You did. Adrian looked at his bodyguard. How do I fix this? You listen to her. Really listen. And you stop trying to save her, Marco shrugged. She doesn't need saving. She needs a partner. Adrian nodded, the words settling heavy in his chest. He'd spent so long being the person who controlled everything, who fixed every problem, that he'd forgotten how to simply stand beside someone. He was going to have to learn. The question was, would Lily give him the chance? 4 days passed without a word between them. Adrian threw himself into work, taking meetings he normally would have delegated, staying at the office until 2 in the morning. But nothing filled the hole Lily's absence left behind. Vincent watched his boss deteriorate with a mixture of concern and vindication. Maybe this is for the best, he said one evening. You can focus on business again. Adrian's glare could have melted steel. Get out. Meanwhile, Lily tried to convince herself she'd made the right choice. She went to work, came home, avoided looking at her phone. But every quiet moment felt empty. Every joke she wanted to share died in her throat because the only person who would understand wasn't there. On the 5th night, Adrian showed up at her apartment. Lily opened the door to find him standing in the hallway, exhausted and disheveled in a way she'd never seen. His tie was loose, his hair mussed, his eyes haunted. I can't do this, he signed. I can't breathe without knowing you're okay. Adrian, just hear me out. Please, he stepped inside, and Lily let him, closing the door behind him. I know I messed up. I know I treated you like something fragile instead of strong. But I need you to understand why. Lily crossed her arms, waiting. 3 years ago, my sister called me. She was being followed by a rival crew, and she was scared. Adrian's hands moved slowly, painfully. I told her to go home, that I'd send someone to pick her up. I thought I had time. I thought I could control the situation. Lily's chest tightened. By the time my men got there, it was too late. They grabbed her off the street, held her for 2 days, trying to use her as leverage. Adrian's face was anguished. When we finally found her, she was alive, but broken. The things they did to her. She was never the same. Adrian, Lily signed gently. She died 6 months later. The doctors said it was complications from the trauma, but I know the truth. They killed her spirit long before her body gave up. His hands shook. So when I see you in danger, when I see men threatening you, all I can think is, not again. I won't lose someone else because I was too slow, too weak, too human. Lily felt tears slip down her cheeks. She understood now, the desperation in his actions, the need to control everything. But understanding didn't change what she needed. I'm so sorry that happened to Bella, she signed. But I'm not her. And you can't protect me from everything by controlling my life. I know, Adrian's shoulders sagged. But I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to care about someone without trying to shield them from the world. Then maybe, Lily signed, her heart breaking with each word, you're not ready for this. For us. Adrian stared at her like she'd struck him. Don't say that. I need someone who sees me as strong enough to face danger beside them. Not someone who locks me in a tower for my own good. Her hands trembled. I don't need saving, Adrian. And I didn't need love. Adrian signed back, his movements sharp and desperate. I was fine being alone, being cold, being nothing but the job. But you happened, Lily. You walked into my life and reminded me what it felt like to be human. To want something more than power. To care about something beyond survival. That's not fair, Lily signed, tears streaming now. Nothing about this is fair. Adrian's composure cracked. Loving you terrifies me. Every second you're not within my sight, I imagine 1,000 ways you could be hurt. Every time you smile, I think about how it would feel to never see that smile again. You want me to treat you as an equal?
Fine.
Then understand that equals share the risk, and I can't ask you to risk your life for my world. You're not asking, Lily signed fiercely.
I am chosen.
Can't you see the difference? I see you choosing danger. I'm choosing you. Lily's hands flew. All of you. The good, the bad, the dangerous.
But you won't let me.
You want me, but only on your terms. Only if you can control everything. Adrian opened his mouth, then closed it. His hands rose, then fell. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked lost. I don't know how to change, he finally signed. Then I can't do this, Lily signed, her heart shattering. I can't be with someone who sees me as something to protect instead of someone to stand with. Lily, please go. Adrian stood frozen for a long moment. Then slowly he turned toward the door. He paused with his hand on the knob, looking back at her one last time. I love you, he signed. Even if I'm terrible at showing it. Even if I'm too broken to do this right. I love you. Then he walked out. Lily collapsed onto her couch, sobbing silently into her hands. The apartment felt impossibly empty. The air felt thin. Everything hurt. Across town, Adrian sat in his car outside her building for an hour, unable to make himself drive away. Marco and Tommy waited patiently, saying nothing. Finally, Adrian pulled out his phone and typed a message he didn't send. I'll be better. I'll learn.
Just don't give up on me.
But he couldn't hit send. What right did he have to ask her to wait while he figured out how to be what she needed? He drove home to his empty penthouse, poured a drink he didn't want, and stared at the city lights until dawn. Neither of them slept that night. And neither of them noticed the surveillance van parked across from Lily's building, or the men inside watching, waiting, documenting every moment. They're falling apart, one of Victor's men said into his radio. Victor's voice came back, pleased. Perfect. A broken Russo is a careless Russo. Keep watching. The moment she's vulnerable, truly alone, we move. What about the stepmother? Pay her the rest of what we promised. She's given us everything we need. The building layout, Lily's schedule, the girls' weaknesses. Victor laughed coldly. Patricia Chen sold her stepdaughter for $20,000 and thought she was being clever. She has no idea. She just signed the girl's death warrant. In her bedroom, Patricia counted the cash Victor's men had dropped off earlier that evening. 50,000 total. 30 to pay off her gambling debts, 20 for herself. She told herself Lily would be fine. Men like Russo always had multiple girls. This would blow over, and Patricia would finally have enough money to start over somewhere new. She ignored the small voice in her head that said she'd just betrayed the only family she had left. By morning, Adrian had made a decision. He would give Lily space, but he wouldn't give up. He'd prove he could change, could be the partner she deserved. By morning, Lily had made a decision too. She would learn to be strong without him, prove she didn't need anyone to complete her. Both of them were determined to move forward. Neither realized they were running out of time. 3 days after their fight, a package arrived at Lily's apartment. Inside was an elegant black box. When she opened it, she found a floor-length emerald gown that probably cost more than her annual salary. Beneath it was a card with Adrian's handwriting. The Children's Hospital Charity Gala. Saturday, 7 p.m. Please come. I need to show you something. Lily stared at the dress, her heart warring with her head. She should say no. She should return it. She should maintain the distance she'd insisted on. But Saturday evening found her standing outside the Four Seasons ballroom in the emerald gown, feeling like she might throw up from nerves. The gala was already in full swing. Chicago's elite packed the glittering ballroom. Politicians, business moguls, socialites. Lily felt dozens of eyes turn toward her as she entered alone, whispers following in her wake. That's the girl. Russo's friend. What's she doing here? Lily lifted her chin and kept walking, scanning the crowd for Adrian. She spotted him across the room, surrounded by men in expensive suits, Vincent at his side, deep in conversation with a city councilman. As if sensing her presence, Adrian looked up. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and the world seemed to stop. He said something to Vincent, who glanced at Lily with clear disapproval, then turned and walked away. Adrian moved through the crowd with purpose, his gaze never leaving hers. People parted for him like water. Lily watched him approach, her heart hammering against her ribs. When he reached her, his hands moved into a sign. "You came." "You asked me to," she signed back. "I wasn't sure you would. After everything. You said you needed to show me something." Adrian nodded. Then he did something that made the entire ballroom fall silent. He held out his hand to her. Not in sign language. Not hidden or private. Just his hand, extended in clear invitation, in front of everyone who mattered in Chicago. The whispers erupted like wildfire. Is he serious? In front of everyone? The Russo heir doesn't do public displays. Lily stared at his hand, understanding the weight of what he was offering. This wasn't just a dance. This was a declaration. In his world, showing vulnerability was weakness. Claiming someone publicly made them a target. And he was doing it anyway. "The whole city is watching," Lily signed. "I know." Adrian signed with his free hand. "Let them watch. Your enemies will see this."
Good.
"Let them know you're under my protection. Let them know that touching you means war." "Adrian, this is dangerous." "I don't care." His eyes burned with intensity. "You told me to stop hiding you.
To stop treating you like a secret.
You wanted me to see you as an equal worth risking everything for." His hand remained extended. "So here I am, risking everything. In front of everyone who could use this against me. Because you're worth it." Lily's eyes filled with tears. This wasn't the controlling man who'd thrown money at her problems. This was someone choosing to be vulnerable, to trust her with his reputation, his safety, his heart. She placed her hand in his. The whispers grew louder, but Adrian didn't seem to hear them. He led her onto the dance floor, and the crowd parted, creating a circle around them. The orchestra, sensing the moment, began playing a waltz. Adrian pulled her close, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. They began to move, and despite never having danced together before, they fell into sync effortlessly. Everyone staring, Lily signed when he spun her. "I'm only looking at you," he signed back. Around them, Chicago's elite watched in stunned silence. This was Adrian Russo, the man who never showed emotion, never brought dates to public events, never showed weakness. And here he was, gazing at a mute girl from Logan Square like she was the only person in the room. From the edge of the ballroom, Vincent stood with his arms crossed, shaking his head. "He's making a target of himself," he muttered to Marco, who'd come as additional security. "No," Marco said quietly, watching his boss smile. Actually smile, as he danced. "He's finally living." On the opposite side of the room, hidden among a group of businessmen, one of Victor Caruso's spies pulled out his phone and snapped photo after photo. Adrian leaned in close, and even though he couldn't sign while dancing, his eyes said everything. "You're mine. And I'm yours. Let the whole world know." Lily felt something shift inside her chest. This wasn't possession. This wasn't control. This was partnership. He was standing beside her, not in front of her, showing the world she mattered enough to risk for. When the song ended, Adrian didn't let her go. Instead, he turned to face the crowd, keeping Lily's hand firmly in his. The gesture was clear, unmistakable. "This woman is with me.
She's not my secret.
She's my choice." The crowd erupted into polite applause, but beneath it, Lily could feel the shift. The calculations, the gossip, the danger. But when she looked at Adrian, all she saw was certainty. "Are you scared?" she signed with her free hand. "Terrified," he admitted. "But not of them. I'm scared of losing you." "You won't," Lily promised. "Not if you keep being this version of you. The version that makes grand gestures at charity galas." The version that risks everything for the people he loves. Adrian's expression softened. I'm sorry for trying to control everything. I'm sorry for not listening. I'm sorry for making you feel like property instead of a partner. I know. And I'm sorry for not understanding why you were so scared. So, where does that leave us? Lily smiled. Together. But on equal terms. Equal terms, Adrian agreed. He raised her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles, a gesture old-fashioned and devastating in its tenderness. The crowd watched, transfixed. And in that moment, Lily understood. Adrian Russo had just painted a target on both their backs. He'd made her a priority in front of every rival, every enemy, every person who might want to hurt him. It was reckless, dangerous,
Stupid.
It was also the most romantic thing anyone had ever done for her. As they left the dance floor, hand in hand, neither noticed the man in the back corner speaking urgently into his phone. She's with him.
Right now.
In front of everyone, a pause. Yes, sir. I'll send you the photos. But Mr. Caruso. If Russo's willing to claim her this publicly, he's serious about her. Very serious. Victor's laugh came through the phone, cold and sharp. Perfect. The higher he holds her, the further she'll fall. And when we take her, Adrian Russo will crumble.
Proceed with the plan.
Tomorrow night, the spy confirmed, watching Lily laugh silently at something Adrian signed. The trap was set. And the hunter was about to become the hunted. After their dance, Adrian led Lily to a quieter corner of the ballroom. A server appeared with champagne, and Adrian took 2 glasses, handing one to Lily. I need to introduce you to someone, he signed, setting his glass down. Someone important. Before Lily could ask who, a young boy appeared, maybe 9 or 10 years old, with Adrian's dark hair and serious eyes. He wore a small suit and had been standing near the orchestra, watching everything with the quiet stillness of someone used to being invisible. Adrian's expression softened instantly. He knelt to the boy's level and signed. This is Lily, the one I told you about. The boy studied Lily with solemn eyes, then slowly signed back. Hello. Lily's heart skipped. She looked at Adrian in surprise. This is Marco, Adrian signed. My son. Lily's mind raced. Adrian had a son? Why hadn't he mentioned this before? Adrian seemed to read her thoughts. His mother, my ex-wife, died 2 years ago. Car accident.
Since then, Marco barely speaks.
To anyone, he looked at his son with profound sadness. But he still signs. It's the only way he communicates now. The boy, Marco, signed to his father. She's pretty. And sad. Like Aunt Bella. Yes. Adrian signed back gently. A little like Aunt Bella. Marco turned to Lily and signed. Dad smiles now. He didn't before you. Lily's throat tightened with emotion. She knelt down to his level and signed. He makes me smile too. A small smile ghosted across Marco's serious face. Then he signed. I'm glad you came. Dad needs someone. Before Lily could respond, a woman's voice cut through the moment like glass.
Adrian.
I didn't know you were bringing guests. Lily stood and turned. A stunning woman in a blood-red dress approached, her smile sharp and cold. She was older than Lily, maybe early 30s, with the kind of beauty that came from expensive maintenance and cruel confidence. Adrian's expression went blank, professional. Natasha. Natasha Romano, the woman said, extending a hand toward Lily that felt more like a challenge than a greeting. An old friend of Adrian's. Very old, very close friend. Lily shook her hand briefly, feeling the woman's nails dig in slightly. You must be the charity case everyone's whispering about, Natasha continued, her smile never reaching her eyes.
How?
Sweet that Adrian's doing his philanthropic work in person now. Natasha. Adrian signed sharply, his voice warning.
What?
I'm being welcoming. Natasha gestured to a passing server. Please, let me get you a fresh drink. That champagne looks warm. She plucked Lily's glass from her hand before Lily could protest and handed it to the server. Get her something better. Top shelf. Adrian's jaw tightened, But before he could intervene, Natasha had already flagged down another server with a tray of cocktails. She selected one, something amber in a crystal glass, and handed it to Lily with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. There. Much better than cheap champagne, she turned to Adrian. We need to talk. Business. I'm sure your friend won't mind waiting a moment. Adrian looked ready to refuse, but Natasha was already pulling him aside, her hand on his arm possessive and familiar. He glanced back at Lily apologetically before being drawn into conversation with Natasha and two men in expensive suits. Lily stood there awkwardly, holding the drink. She lifted it to her lips. A small hand grabbed her wrist. Marco stood beside her, his grip surprisingly strong for someone so young. He shook his head frantically, then pointed at the drink and made a clear sign. Bad. Lily's heart jumped. What do you mean? Marco's hands flew in rapid signs. I saw her. When the server wasn't looking. She put something in your drink. From her purse. White powder. Lily's blood ran cold. She looked at the drink in her hand, then across the room at Natasha, who was watching them with barely concealed interest while pretending to listen to Adrian. Are you sure? Lily signed.
Marco nodded emphatically.
I see things.
People don't notice me.
But I see. Lily carefully set the drink on a nearby table, her hands shaking. Thank you, Marco. You might have just saved my life. The boy's expression was grave beyond his years. People hurt the ones Dad cares about. I won't let them hurt you too. Lily's eyes burned with tears. She pulled the boy into a hug, and he let her, something he clearly didn't do often based on his initial stiffness that gradually relaxed. When she released him, she signed, I need to tell your father.
Marco nodded.
Be careful. That woman is dangerous. She's been watching you all night. Lily looked across the room. Adrian was still trapped in conversation, but Vincent had appeared, speaking urgently in his ear. Adrian's expression darkened as Vincent gestured toward the exit. Then Adrian's eyes found Lily's across the room. He immediately excused himself and strode toward her, Vincent close behind. What's wrong? He signed the moment he reached her. Lily explained everything, Natasha taking her drink, replacing it with a new one, Marco seeing her add something from her purse. With each word, Adrian's expression grew colder, more dangerous. He picked up the drink Lily had set down and handed it to Vincent. Get this tested.
Now.
And find Natasha Romano. Already on it, Vincent said, surprising Lily with his efficiency. She left through the west exit 2 minutes ago. Marco's already tracking her car. Marco. Lily signed, confused. My other Marco, Adrian clarified. My head of security. I named my son after him. Vincent pulled out his phone. She's heading north. Should I have her picked up?
Yes. Quietly.
I want to know who put her up to this. Adrian turned to his son, kneeling down. Thank you for protecting Lily. You were very brave. Young Marco signed. She's family now. We protect family. Adrian pulled his son into a tight hug, and Lily saw his shoulders shake slightly. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet. Yes, he signed to his son. We protect family. Within 30 minutes, Vincent returned with news. The drink tested positive for a severe sedative. Enough to knock someone out for hours. Maybe permanently. Given the dosage, he glanced at Lily. If you drunk that, who sent her? Adrian's voice was ice. Vincent hesitated. She's not talking. But we found texts on her phone. She's been in contact with the Caruso organization. They paid her $50,000 to remove the problem. Adrian's expression went deadly calm, the kind of calm that preceded violence. The Carusos. They've been circling for months, Vincent said, trying to move into our territory. But we've held them off.
Until
I became distracted, Adrian finished. He looked at Lily. Until I had something they could use against me. This isn't your fault, Lily signed. It is. I made you a target by bringing you into my world. You made me visible, Lily signed firmly. There's a difference. And I'm not afraid. You should be, Vincent said bluntly. The Carusos don't make idle attempts. If Natasha failed, they'll try again. Different method, different angle. They won't stop until they're stopped, Adrian interrupted. Which I will do. Tonight, he turned to Vincent. Call everyone. I want every detail on Caruso operations by morning. I want to know their locations, their contacts, their weaknesses. Everything. Adrian, Vincent said carefully. If you go to war over a woman. I'm not going to war over a woman. Adrian's eyes blazed. I'm going to war because they attacked my family. There's a difference. He turned to Lily and Marco, his expression softening.
Come on.
We're leaving. Both of you will stay with me tonight where I can keep you safe. I can go home. Lily started to sign. Please, Adrian signed, and the vulnerability in his hands stopped her protest. Please let me protect you. Not because you're weak. Because they're dangerous. And I can't lose you. Lily looked at young Marco, who nodded seriously, then back at Adrian.
Okay, she signed.
But this doesn't mean I'm hiding. Tomorrow, we face this together. Together, Adrian agreed. As they left the gala, surrounded by security, neither of them noticed the photographer in the parking garage capturing every moment. Or the text message being sent to Victor Caruso. Poison attempt failed. Russo knows. He's moving her to his penthouse. Do we proceed? The response came immediately. Yes. Tomorrow night. His penthouse. We take her from his own home. Show him nowhere is safe. Adrian's penthouse was fortress-like, 40 floors up with panoramic views of Chicago, security on every entrance, cameras on every angle. Young Marco fell asleep on the couch within an hour, exhausted from the evening's drama. Lily stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights, when Adrian approached with his phone in hand. His expression was grim. Vincent found something, he signed. About your stepmother. Lily's stomach dropped. What about her? Adrian pulled up photos on his phone, surveillance images of Patricia meeting with men Lily didn't recognize. Time-stamps showed the meeting started weeks ago, long before Lily ever met Adrian. These men work for Victor Caruso. My biggest rival. Adrian's hands moved slowly, carefully. Vincent traced the payments. Patricia has been receiving money from them for over a month. For what? Adrian's expression was pained. Information. About you. Your schedule, your routines, where you live, where you work. She gave them everything they needed to get close to you. Lily felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. Why? They paid her $20,000. $10,000 up front, $10,000 after she delivered. Adrian's jaw tightened.
She sold you to them, Lily.
She's been working with them from the start. Lily's hands shook too much to sign. Patricia had betrayed her. Not just passively, but actively. She'd sold Lily out to dangerous men for money. There's more, Adrian signed. The debt collectors who cornered you? Caruso's men. Patricia told them when you'd be walking home alone. The whole thing was staged to make you vulnerable, to make you dependent on me. They wanted me to get closer to you.
Yes.
You were never the target. You were the weapon. They planned to use you to get to me. Adrian's expression was anguished. And I almost let it work. If Marco hadn't seen Natasha poisoning your drink tonight, if you'd been taken from the gala, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. I need to see her, Lily signed. Patricia. I need to hear this from her. Lily. Please. I need closure. Adrian studied her face, then nodded. Tomorrow morning. But I'm coming with you. The next morning, they arrived at Lily's apartment building with Marco and Tommy flanking them. Patricia answered the door in her bathrobe, a coffee cup in hand. Her eyes widened when she saw Adrian. Lily. Mr. Russo. What a surprise. Lily pushed past her into the apartment, Adrian following. Patricia's fake smile faltered. What's going on? Lily pulled out her phone and pulled up the surveillance photos Vincent had sent. She shoved the screen in Patricia's face. Patricia's expression crumbled. Lily, I can explain. Lily's hands flew in sharp, angry signs. Adrian translated, his voice cold. She wants to know if it's true. Did you take money from the Caruso family? They approached me. I didn't. Patricia's voice rose defensively. They said they just want information. That's all. Just information about your schedule. They said they wouldn't hurt you. You believed them? Lily signed, and Adrian translated. They paid me $50,000. Patricia's composure shattered completely. Do you know what that means? I could finally leave this dump, start over. You sold me, Lily signed, her movements sharp and precise. You sold me to criminals for money. I was desperate. The gambling debts, the collectors, I had no choice. There's always a choice, Lily signed. Adrian translated, but there was approval in his voice. You chose money over family. You chose yourself over the girl your husband left in your care. Your father left me nothing, Patricia screamed. Nothing but debt, and you. A mute girl who can't even speak. Do you know how hard it's been taking care of you? Lily flinched, but her hands didn't waver. You never took care of me. I took care of myself. I paid my half of rent. I bought my own food. All you did was make me feel like a burden. Because you are. Patricia's face was ugly with anger and desperation. And when those men offered me a way out, I took it. I'm not sorry. You have Adrian Russo now. You'll be fine.
You don't need me, Star.
Lily felt tears prick her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She pulled off the key to the apartment from her keychain and set it on the table. Her hands moved in slow, deliberate signs. You lost me the day you sold me. But I'm not the one who should feel ashamed. You are. Adrian translated, then added his own words. The Caruso family won't protect you. They used you just like you used Lily. When this is over, you'll be alone with nothing but blood money to keep you warm. Patricia's face went pale. What do you mean, when this is over? It means the Carusos are finished. Adrian's voice was ice. And everyone who helped them will answer for it. If I were you, I'd take whatever money you have left and disappear. Because when Lily walks out that door, you lose the only protection you had. Protection? What protection? Mine. Adrian's smile was cold. I don't hurt people connected to Lily. But the moment you're not connected anymore, he let the implication hang. Patricia stumbled backward, genuine fear crossing her face. Lily turned and walked toward the door, her head held high. Adrian followed, but paused at the threshold. One more thing, he said to Patricia. The Carusos know you gave them bad information. They know the building layout you provided was outdated, that the schedule was wrong. They think you double-crossed them, he smiled coldly. I'd suggest you run. Very far. Very fast. Patricia's coffee cup slipped from her hands, shattering on the floor. Lily didn't look back. She walked out of that apartment and into the hallway, feeling lighter than she had in years. Adrian caught up to her at the elevator. Are you okay? I'm free, Lily signed. For the first time since my father died, I'm free. I'm proud of you, Adrian signed. That took real strength. I learned from someone who's teaching me what strength really means. Adrian pulled her into his arms, holding her close. Behind them, Marco gave Tommy a subtle nod, and Tommy spoke into his radio. Subject secured. Begin operation. In Patricia's apartment, the woman frantically grabbed clothes, throwing them into a suitcase. She had maybe an hour before the Carusos realized she was running. But she was already too late. 3 blocks away, Vincent sat in a car with a tablet, watching security footage from 12 different angles. Every Caruso operation, every safe house, every meeting point, all of it documented, time-stamped, ready for the FBI raid he'd anonymously arranged. It's done, Vincent said into his phone. Caruso's entire operation exposed. Patricia Chen's testimony sealed it. She doesn't even know we recorded her confession. The FBI moves in 1 hour. Adrian's voice came through the line. Good. End this. Today. By noon, Victor Caruso and 18 of his associates were in federal custody. Their organization crumbled in hours, decades of crimes finally catching up with them. And Patricia Chen vanished into the wind, leaving behind nothing but an empty apartment and the wreckage of her choices. That evening, back at Adrian's penthouse, Lily watched the news coverage with young Marco beside her. The boy signed. The bad people are gone? Yes, Lily signed back. They're gone.
Good.
Now Dad can be happy. Lily smiled and ruffled his hair. Now we can all be happy. Adrian emerged from his office, Vincent close behind. The older man actually smiled, a rare sight. It's over, Vincent said. The cruces are finished. The threat is neutralized. Adrian looked at Lily, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked truly at peace. It's over, he signed to her. You're safe. We're safe, Lily corrected. We're safe, Adrian agreed, pulling her close. 3 months later, spring had transformed Chicago from gray to green. Lily stood in the garden behind Adrian's estate, a sprawling property outside the city she'd only recently learned he owned. It was nothing like his sleek penthouse. Here, there were flowers and trees, a stone fountain, and a peace that felt worlds away from the dangerous life she'd glimpsed. Young Marco ran past, chasing a golden retriever puppy Adrian had surprised him with last week. The boy's laughter, actual sound, not just silent joy, echoed through the garden. It was the first time he'd made noise in over a year. He's healing, Vincent said, appearing beside Lily. The older man had softened toward her after she'd helped negotiate a truce with a rival family using nothing but patience and written notes. You're good for both of them. Lily smiled and typed on her phone. They're good for me too. Vincent nodded and walked toward the house, leaving her alone in the garden. She wandered deeper into the space, finding a secluded corner where a white marble bench sat beneath a willow tree. She was admiring the roses when she felt familiar arms wrap around her waist from behind. Adrian rested his chin on her shoulder, and they stood like that for a moment, watching the breeze scatter petals across the grass. Finally, he stepped back and turned her to face him. His hands moved in the private language that had become theirs. I want to tell you something.
I'm listening.
My empire was built on fear. Every brick, every connection, every victory. All of it came from people being afraid of what I might do. His expression was vulnerable, open. I thought that was strength. I thought that was power. But then you walked into my life and showed me I was wrong. Lily's throat tightened with emotion. You gave me hope, Adrian signed, his movements slow and deliberate. Hope that I could be more than my last name, more than the empire, more than the fear. You made me believe I could be someone worth loving. Adrian. Let me finish, he signed with a soft smile. 3 months ago, I was living in darkness. I had money, power, respect, everything except a reason to use any of it. And then a mute girl got rejected at a blind date, and I couldn't stop myself from reaching out. His eyes glistened. Best decision I ever made. Lily wiped at her eyes. You gave me something too. What? A voice. Her hands moved with confidence, with strength. My whole life, people saw my silence as weakness, as something broken that needed fixing. But you saw it as just another way of speaking. You learned my language. You made me feel heard. Adrian's expression cracked, emotion flooding through. I spent 23 years thinking I was invisible, Lily continued. That I didn't matter because I couldn't shout or argue or make noise. But you taught me that silence can be powerful, that the quietest voices sometimes say the most important things. You were never invisible, Adrian signed fiercely. You were just waiting for someone worthy enough to really see you. And you were waiting for someone brave enough to see past the monster everyone thinks you are. Adrian pulled her close, pressing his forehead against hers. They stood like that, breathing together, two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely circumstances. When he pulled back, his hands moved again. I love you. Not because you remind me of my sister. Not because you're convenient or safe or easy. I love you because you're brilliant and strong and you make me want to build something better than an empire built on fear. What do you want to build? A life. With you? Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily's breath caught. I'm not asking you to marry me, he signed quickly, seeing her panic. Not yet. When I ask, I want to do it right. With your friends there, with Marco, with everyone who matters to both of us. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate ring. Not an engagement ring, but something else. A simple band with an engraved inscription in ASL hand shapes that spelled out, equal. "This is a promise," Adrian signed. "A promise that I see you as my partner, not my possession. My equal, not my weakness. My strength." Lily's vision blurred with tears. She held out her hand, and Adrian slipped the ring onto her right hand, the hand she used to sign, to communicate, to express everything she couldn't say with words. "I love you too," Lily signed. "And I promise to stand beside you. Not behind you, not in front of you. Beside you. Always." Adrian kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, young Marco was standing a few feet away, the puppy in his arms, watching them with a knowing smile. "Does this mean Lily's staying forever?" he signed. "If she'll have us," Adrian signed back. Lily laughed silently and signed to Marco, "I'm not going anywhere." The boy hooped, an actual sound that made Adrian's eyes widen in surprise, and ran toward them. They caught him in a group hug, the three of them tangled together in the garden, a family formed not by blood but by choice. Above them, the willow branches swayed in the breeze, and for the first time in years, Adrian Russo felt something he'd thought impossible.
Peace. Joy. Home.
And as the sun set over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Lily realized that her story had never been about finding her voice. It had been about finding someone who understood that silence could sing. Someone who saw strength in stillness. Someone who proved that love didn't need words, just willing hands and open hearts. In the mansion garden, surrounded by flowers and laughter and hope, their bond, born in silence, became a vow that would last a lifetime.